Joining us now is Denver Riggleman. Now, Denver Riggleman, he is a contractor with the Department of Defense. He spent a career in the military. He was one of the first people to go to Afghanistan after 9/11. He led the raids there. So he has shot terrorists. Now he owns a whiskey distillery in the 5th District. So he shoots terrorists, makes whiskey. He ran for governor 2017. Tried to catch lightning in a bottle, couldn't really keep up with the Gillespie fundraising machine, dropped out. But now he's running for Congress in the 5th District, which is going to be decided tomorrow. So it's a very short campaign. 19 votes of 37 needed to win. But he's running a campaign. He's got rallies going on, and he's got a campaign manager, Zach Worrell, the whiz kid out there. He's got some momentum, and he's joining us now. Denver Riggleman, good to have you, sir.
Good morning. How you doing, John?
Good. Was that a good enough introduction?
My goodness, that was a heck of an introduction, and sadly, Zach, is working for the Klein campaign. I have a lot of people helping me, and I'll probably have to get another campaign manager because Ben Klein is also, running for Congress right now. So it's going to be an interesting time for me. Okay, so Bill Stanley gets in the race. You texted me last night, which I tweeted out, and said you're in it to win it. Obviously, Stanley gets in. Look, he's the chalk. He was the chairman there. He's got the relationships. I just looked at the 37 people on the list and just without doing any research I looked at the South Side, his people. I figured he goes in with about 13 votes just right off the bat. That's just my analysis. Nobody told me that. So with him in the race, you were gaining traction. Now what do you do? How do you now win and beat Bill Stanley? Now you have a committee vote that is pretty interesting. It's not a convention, obviously. We have 5 minutes to speak. But with a committee vote, it looks like we have about 10. So, and me, John, I'm going to tell you just straight up. So I think we're going to get through the first round. Actually, we're going to get through the first round. But at that point, it's who's the number 2 or number 3 on the list, as you go forward. And that's how it's going to work. And I think it's going to be, everybody thinks it's going to last, till 8. No, it's not. I think it'll last till 2 or 3, and I think we'll be out of there pretty quick. And it's going to be interesting as we go forward with, I think there's like 10 people now. I got a list, people I've never heard of. So we'll see how that goes, but there's a lot of people, but we only get 5 minutes to speak, John, and that's it. And then we move on and they vote, and then they go through the rounds of voting.
Well, that's it. They're going to go through rounds of voting. Now, I talked briefly last night to the chairman, who I think is doing a really good job, Mr. Adams, Melvin Adams. But the way I understand it is they're just going to eliminate the bottom vote getter, right?
Yes, the bottom vote getter, or the top 4, I think, move on or something like that.
Something like that.
They'll eliminate the top 4 will move on, and then each one, I think, you get blasted out on each vote, right? Or you have to,
right.
do the walk and get on out of there.
You get top 4, top 3,
right,
and top 2. So you have 3 votes.
3 votes, yes. And
your objective,
I think that's what it's going to be. But now with 10 people, 11 people, my goodness, it's going to be an interesting time.
Okay, but a lot of the people that came in that were not really viable. I
know
you
they're
can't
not.
comment,
They're not.
They're all your
they're
friends,
really
but
not.
Look, they're not viable candidates. So the viable candidates are Denver Riggleman, Bill Stanley, Michael Del Russo, that of course ran in the convention last time and beat Garrett on the first ballot. Then McKelvey backed him, and Garrett was the nominee. Martha Bennett is a serious candidate. Michael Weber, number 5, he's a House of Delegates member. Can't count him out. He's got some people that are going to vote for him. So that's 5. And then I guess you would have to say Cynthia Dunbar is now going to do some kind of sneak attack, and she didn't win the 6.
She has a lot of supporters, and they really want her to win. And there's some things about Cynthia that you have to take into consideration. She's very good on education. She knows her she knows she has chops there, and she also has chops in constitutional law. So there's some people who really like her. And for me, John, again, the transparency thing for me. If somebody wants to run and it's legal and they want to do it, and they follow the rules, I say, hey, more power to them. Jump in. I think that's what's great about America.
Look, I love the way this is being run. And I tell you what, Denver, what a stark difference to the way this convention in the 6th District was run, with the rigging and the cheating, and the media couldn't get there, and they kicked me out. And, I called Melvin Adams, and he's like, hey, we would love to broadcast this. What do you need? Just send us an email. I'll make it happen. We want to be as transparent as we can. We want anybody in the world that wants to tune in to see how we're doing this to be able to do that. And that's really what the process is about. So that's
I think
a good
so
thing.
too. I actually don't envy the 5th District, John. I mean, the committee members, they're in pretty much an unprecedented situation where, they have to get a nominee out as quickly as possible to go against Leslie Cockburn, right? So
right.
It's going to be, but they've been fantastic. For me, they've been transparent, sending emails, emails with Melvin. Ed's doing a good job. Will's doing a good job. Everybody's doing a good job trying to get this together. And I think whoever's the nominee or whoever's not the nominee needs to support the nominee all the way so that we have a united front. We got to unite the clans of some time, John, because there's been a lot of division lately in the Republican Party. And I think it's time to unite the clans and for people to be a little bit gracious and lost and also to support the Republican Party.
I love that attitude, and you're right, Denver Riggleman. And we're with Denver Riggleman, who's one of, 6 pretty viable candidates running for the 5th District Congressional Republican nomination, the seat of I guess you would call him retiring now, Tom Garrett. But look, Tom not running for re-election, but the best thing, this is the other good thing I think that, and I don't want to keep singing his praises, but what Melvin Adams, the chairman, did is he compressed this to a week because he said to himself, if this thing drags on for 3 weeks, that's when the hate starts, right? I mean, that's when the emails start, the robocalls, the every trick in the book. That's when there's the anonymous stuff, the hate. He said, if I can compress this to a week, I can get a nominee and everybody can shake hands because there's only so much hate you can do in a week. But that's what happens with these things. I mean, you look at the 6th District and the misery that went on. It was just a miserable thing. Gross. This much different. Now,
it was.
Let's get to some policy issues. Now, people saying that, well, look, Denver Riggleman, he is pro-gay rights, like me, John Fredericks. And they're also saying, okay, he's a social liberal. He's pro-gay rights, pro-gay marriage, and he's also pro-choice. Can you clarify that for us?
Sure, I can clarify. People need to vote for exactly what the person stands for, right, and be transparent. I am pro-life, but there should be exceptions for rape, incest, health of the mother, and I even think age. I think that, I have 3 daughters and a wife, John, and I've seen both sides of things, especially in my life with my wife, so that's where I stand on it. And actually, there's been a debate out there about me on this, and people who actually like me and know me who say, you got to be 100% pro-life. I don't know what that means. I think you're pro-life if you care about the woman and extenuating circumstances, but also with health. And when you've had that problem with a spouse, you have a unique look into it, I think, and that's where I'm at on that. As far as gay rights, as Republicans, what are we? Are we somebody, we always say keep government out of our lives or keep anything out of our lives, or that liberty is something that we hold dear. Well, religiously, liberty is something that we have to always protect. And it's not only religious rights, but it's civil rights. If 2 men or 2 women want to say they're married, get married, and live a life together, who are we to say that's a good thing or a bad thing? For me, it's whatever they want to do because they're Americans and they've been given that choice and that free agency that's been bestowed by their creator. So that's how I look at it. And if somebody disagrees with me, at least I'm going to come out and tell them exactly what I feel. Then if that is their deciding factor, is that I don't give a rat's about, gay marriage, have no problem with it, or that I think there should be exceptions on awful circumstances, especially for women's health, which I think is very important, well, then, you know what, then don't vote for me because I think I really am not going to change my mind on that.
Honesty is the best policy. I appreciate your transparency on that.
Well, I have to sleep at night, and people need to know where I stand and where to vote. And, the other things, when I support the Read It Act, which I'm going to, for Tom, when you talk about policy, or that I'm probably the one guy who knows more about big data science for vetting, for accurate vetting of people that try to get into the United States based on my background. I'm still in the Office of Secretary of Defense as a subject matter expert on kinetic and non-kinetic warfare, which is digital and cyber and dropping bombs. When I've done telephony, when I've done certain types of analysis that nobody can lay claim to. If somebody wants to argue with me on foreign policy or defense strategy, I'm going to crush them. And if anybody wants to talk about individual or institutionalized tax returns that the Trump administration did, I mean, he saved me $7,000 per month, John, and that's something we need to make permanent. So my policy positions fiscally are so conservative. My defense positions, there's nobody I'm the only one in the race. I tell you what, the Democrats don't want to face me because I have the policy strength based on what I do as experience, and I'm so freedom-centered that the left, if I win this, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of fear on the blue side because what are they going to do to me, John? How are they going to come at me? And that's why I'm excited about this. On the flip side, the 5th District Committee has to pick the candidate they think that's best for their district. And I live here, I work here, I bring jobs here. I believe in freedom, I believe in liberty, and I think that's where Republicans need to be. And if we don't start going in that direction, we might as well start counting all the chickens we're going to lose in the next 10 to 15 years as Virginia, just turns completely blue if we don't think that liberty trumps us getting into people's bedrooms or getting into their pocketbooks.
Well, look, I really appreciate your candor, Denver. It's very refreshing. I think that's one of the appeals that you have is you're going to tell it like it is and not do the normal politician thing. I think if you got to Congress, you would be a very independent thinker and do your own thing. If you were there, would you support the president's tariff and trade policies as he's outlined them now, yes or no?
So I'm a numbers guy. Oh, I would say right now, no, until I could look at the numbers. I was listening to you about, the globalists or the things when they come to tariffs. As far as there's such a balance there on freedom, right? I want to see the numbers on what those tariffs look like on the type of prices that the American consumer would pay. What's fantastic about tax cuts that they've done, or rejiggering the budget or adding to the defense budget, on that side is that we see this sort of the surge in the economy. Because if I would talk to President Trump today, I'd get behind closed doors and say, these tariffs, what do you think it's going to do to actual employment or the purchasing power of Americans? If you think we can make a balance or you can do a deal with the EU or you can do a deal with China where, there is a slight increase in price to make sure we protect jobs, I think that's something I like to see as far as a metric. Because for me, it is about numbers. When you run a company, it's about numbers. And it's about how that works and what it says. But right now, our economy is surging so well. There could be that Donald Trump is making deals that I'm not aware of. I'm not in the Oval Office. So that's once I'm in Congress, I'm just going to ask the questions. And if I see the numbers and they match up, I support it. If the numbers don't support it or go against what I think helps Americans, I won't. And that's just how I'm wired, John.
Denver Riggleman, we're out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. These tariffs that the president is putting on these countries that have been
for your daily supply
financially, right thing to do. So we don't agree on that, but I do appreciate your being with us. Thank you.
All right,
Denver
John,
Riggleman,
I'll always tell you the truth because you always tell me the truth. I appreciate it.